V'osiso bigdei kodesh la'aron ochicha l'chovoid u'l'sifores. Moshe Rabbeinu is instructed, after having been instructed about the whole Mishkan and every detail about how to manufacture, how to create all the intricate details of the Mishkan, this parsha deals with Aaron, HaKohen, and his 4 sons. There were only 5 Kohanim at the time in the whole world, and they are now given a very special role. Parshas Tetzaveh, the Kohanim are inaugurated, they are anointed and appointed, and the greatest part of the parsha deals with the very special Big Day Kahuna, the special unique clothing that the Kohanim had to wear when they were on duty in the Mishkan and later on in the Beis HaMikdash. If you were listening to the Haftarah last week, you will know that the Beis HaMikdash of Shlomo HaMelech was built 480 years after Yetzias Mitzrayim, which means that this Mishkan and these clothing and everything that we are reading about in these parashas actually lasted for 480 years until the Mishkan was superseded by the Beis HaMikdash. But even there, the Kohanim, and for both the first and second Beis HaMikdash, Kohanim, when they were attired, when they were dressed in the Big Day Kahuna, then they were able to function as Kohanim. Without the special clothing, they were not permitted to function at all as Kohanim on the Har HaBayis in the Beis HaMikdash. What's interesting here is that this pasuk instructing Moshe Rabbeinu to make the Big Day Kahuna uses 2 very interesting words. It says lechavod uletiferet. 2 different, very powerful words are being used here, and I'd like to have a closer look at the meaning of these 2 words because they contain a lot of fascinating and inspiring ideas. First of all, Rabbeinu Bachaya is very interesting. He says, in general, these clothing should be seen as Big Day Malchus. The clothing of the Kohanim was a type of royalty. And indeed, we find in the Mishnah and Pirkei Avos that in addition to Keser Malchus, there was the crown of the kings. There was also Keser Kahuna, the crown of the Kohanim. And they were dressed in royalty, says the Rabbeinu Bachai. That's what it's about. And royalty is very much connected to unique clothing. We find this in Megillas Esther. And it says, Vatilbash Esther Malchus. When she prepares herself to go and speak to Achashverosh to try and save Klal Yisrael, she first attires herself with Malchus, with the clothing of the royalty. And also at the end of the Megillah, we find that Mordechai Yotzam Elifnei HaMelech, the Levush Malchus, Techeles V'chur. Mordechai has also got the Levush Malchus. So these Levushim, this special garments of Malchus, is the topic of Parashat Tetzaveh, and there's a lot of very fascinating aspects of it. What is Kovod and what is Tiferes? So very briefly, the Rabbeinu Bachaya says that these 2 words reflect 2 different aspects of the Kohanim. Kohanim had a dual role to play throughout Jewish history at the time of the Mishkan and later on the Beis HaMikdash. The dual role was as follows, that in one sense, they were a Shliach of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to receive from the Jewish people, to receive the Trumas and Maisros, to receive the Karbonos, to receive the Chatos and the Taidos, all the different types of activities that Klal Yisrael did were received by the Kohanim on behalf, so to speak, of Hektish, on behalf of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And in that sense, the Kohanim are referred to in the Gemara as Sheluchei Derachmona. They are seen as agents of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And in that sense, says Rabbeinu Bachai, these clothing reflected the kovod. What kovod? The kavod shamayim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is molek al ha'oretz kavodai, that the kavod Hashem expressed itself in the shlichim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the messengers of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that were the Kohanim, and therefore they had to wear this clothing lichvoid the Shechina, to honor the presence of the Shechina in the Beis HaMikdash. But that's only half the story, because the Gemara says in addition to being Shluchei Derachmana, Kohanim also have a role of Shluchei Didon. They are our messengers. In other words, they are our agents. They're acting on behalf of Klal Yisrael. When a Kohen brings a korban tzibur, so he's acting as a shliach tzibur. And as a shliach tzibur, he is a representative of Klal Yisrael. That, says the Rabbeinu Bachaya, is the tiferes. So the kovod of the tiferes reflect the dual role of the Kohanim, acting both for HaKadosh Baruch Hu in one respect, and acting on behalf of Klal Yisrael in another respect, and that is the tiferes, the pe'er of Klal Yisrael. To act on behalf of Klal Yisrael is one of the greatest privileges. I remember seeing one of the letters once of Rav Kook, Rav Ram Yitzchak Cohen Cook. He signs off his letters. He often signed off his letters. Before his name, he would write Eved La'am Yisrael Be'eretz HaKodesh. That he's an Eved, that he considers himself to be a servant of the Jewish people in the Holy Land. And there's no greater privilege than being a servant of Klal Yisrael, and that is the role of Kohanim and the role of Rabbanim, and that is the Shluchei Didon. And in that sense, they are messengers of us, messengers of the rest of the Tzibur. So this is the kovod and the tiferes that Rabbeinu Bachaya mentions. The Orach Chaim HaKadosh brings in a very beautiful symbolism in the clothing of the Kohen Gadol, because we know the Kohen Gadol wore eight clothing, the Shmoina Begodim. The 8 clothing of the Kohen Gadol were 4 white ones, which he had in common with all the other Kohanim, and 4 Bigdei Zahav, 4 very elaborate items of clothing, including the ephod and the me'il and the tzitz and the choshen. These were unique to the Kohen Gadol, called Bigdei Zahav, always worn by the Kohen Gadol when he was on duty, except when he went into the Kodesh Kadoshim on Yom Kippur, and that's a separate story. Al Kol Ponim says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh something very interesting. The Bigdei Kahuna represented the Shem Hashem, the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that we are allowed to understand and to say is reflected in the clothing of the Kohanim in a very beautiful way. He says the words which we use to address HaKadosh, to refer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is a dual word. On the one hand, there is the Yud Kei Vav Kei, the Shem Havaya, the way it's written in the Sefer Torah, with a Yud and a Hey and a Vav and a Hey. Those 4 letters are the ineffable name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're not allowed to articulate them. Why are we not allowed to? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in essence, is of course Ein Sof. He has infinite powers and infinite existence, and is beyond human language. Human language cannot capture anything about the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore we use these words which simply mean existence, right? But we're not allowed to say the word because it's beyond our grasp. But then there is another word, Aleph Daled Nun Yud, which we say instead. When we read the Sefer Torah, the Baal Koreh, or we read the Siddur, our eyes see the Yud Kei Vav Kei, but we say Aleph Daled Nun Yud. It's a type of a Krieg Siv. We say Aleph Daled Nun Yud, and that's Adnus, right? That is where we're referring to the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu manifests himself in this world. The Yad Hashem, the Hashgacha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the involvement of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in our lives, that is the Aleph Daled Nun Yud. Says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh that the 8 clothings of the Kohen Gadol represented these 2 Shemos HaKodesh, that the 4 white clothing were hidden, that people didn't see the 4 items of white clothing, and they represent the Yud Kei Vav Kei. They represent the Shem Hashem, which is hidden, which is pure white, which is infinite. And then there are the other 4 items of clothing, which represent, Aleph Daled Nun Yud, represent the Pe'er, the glory of the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world. And that is really a very beautiful understanding of the Shmona Begodim of the Kohen Gadol. There is here also a very interesting application, really, in the modern times. We, of course, unfortunately, we don't have Kohanim Ba'avodasom. We don't have Kohanim who wear these items of clothing. But I saw in the Nesivos Shalom, the Nesivos Shalom writes something very beautiful. He says, Bismanenu, that we don't have those clothing. We have instead Bigdei Shabbos. So that is a very interesting connection. That Bigdei Shabbos are a special halacha. Where do we get the Bigdei Shabbos from? Where do we get that halacha from? So it's a pasuk in Yeshaya. In Yeshaya chapter 58, Yeshaya Hanavi is telling Klal Yisrael to respect the Shabbos and to enjoy the Shabbos, and there he uses an interesting phrase. He says, "V'karosa la Shabbos oneg." Yeshaya Hanavi invents a new word for Shabbos, the word oneg. We are familiar with an oneg Shabbos. Oneg Shabbos is our enjoyment over Shabbos, enjoying the Shabbos Sudas, enjoying the clothing and the way the house has got a special appearance, and everything is special on Shabbos. That is oneg Shabbos, the enjoyment of Shabbos. And that was the tzivui of Yeshaya Hanavi. So he says, "V'karosa la Shabbos oneg." You should make sure that you don't only observe the Shabbos, observe all the Yisurim, you don't only make Kiddush and Havdalah, but the Shabbos itself should be an oneg for you, it should be an enjoyment for you. And then he says, "V'chibadetoi," and you've got to give the Shabbos covered. Asks the Gemara in Masechah Shabbos, Taf Kuf Yud Gimel, how does that manifest itself in Hilchos Shabbos, that we give covered to Shabbos? So the Gemara there says, it's clothing. It's shaloya malbushcha shel Shabbos kam malbushcha shel chol, that your malbush on Shabbos should be different. And the idea of Shabbos clothing, of Big Day Shabbos, is really an expression of the covered. That covered, which appears, that word covered, which appears in Parshas Tetzaveh, reflecting the kvod shamayim of the Big Day Kahuna, that word covered appears in Yeshaya to reflect the kvod shamayim of Big Day Shabbos. And says in the Tzivas Shalom that the same Kedusha, the same Kapara that is achieved through the Big Day Kahuna can be achieved Bizmanenu through Big Day Shabbos. And I think this is a beautiful modern application of one of the ideas in the Parsha that we do have today, the Kovod and the Tiferes of the Oneg Shabbos, and that is indeed the way in which we honor the Shabbos. Like the Kohanim were honoring the Kedusha of the Beis Hamikdash, we are honoring the Shabbos, and that is the role really of clothing. Just to end up with a very beautiful line from Rav Kook, where he says on the bracha in the morning we say Malbish Arumim. So he says we're not only thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we're not living in abject poverty and therefore we can afford clothing and we've got clothing. We're thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the Tselem Elokim, because the unique hallmark of human beings that distinguishes us from animals is clothing. By wearing clothing, we're making a statement that we're not part of the animal kingdom. We are different. We have within us a chelek elokah, an infinite spark of the neshama, and that is reflected in the fact that we wear clothing, and our clothing itself reflects kavod habrios, the human dignity, which is so important and such a central theme in Torah and in mitzvahs. And he wrote so that indeed we should be zeicher to, on Shabbos, feel the kedusha, a little bit of the kedusha of the big day kahuna in our Big Day Shabbos. V'chein yiratzon.